Okay, so looks like that's happening.
Warning me that it's being live streamed.
Yeah. Okay, so hey everybody. I don't know if there's anybody watching us on YouTube yet, but we are
Hopefully,
live on YouTube.
I've only been live for 2 seconds, so
And we can go ahead and hit the record button.
all right. Recording. Oh, I gotta hit OK that I'm okay with you recording it. There we go.
All righty.
All right, ready?
Ready.
In five, four, three. On today's episode of Video Marketing Madness, we're going to discuss some new things at YouTube and a little case study about YouTube helping your pages. Well, speaking of helping, we've got a great company that's helping make this possible today. And that, of course, is our good friends over at Movo, who make all the stuff that you need to make great videos. Whether you need lights, microphones, stands, they have it all, and they have it at a great price. In fact, they even have a new microphone that just came out a little bit ago that's really kind of cool. So you want to check it out. It's only it's a wireless microphone. It's only about $39. So it's a very, very good deal. But of course, they have all sorts of microphones on there, and you'll definitely want to check them out if you want to make better video. So head on over to raysuggests.com/Movo. And with that, let's hit the music.
And it's the radio show about video marketing madness with Ray, the video guy. And I'm Steve Sleeper. I think we got a pretty good show today.
Eh, we'll
Yeah.
see.
I'm excited about it. It's because you didn't come up with it. That's why.
No, I love it. I love it. I
Okay.
think it's
All right. Okay.
fantastic.
Okay. All right. Well, the first story that we have, I always check the trades and everything else and see what's going on. And this is about a week old. The August 2024 core update is rolling out now, and this comes from search engine land. And one of the aims of the Google August 2024 core update is to surface useful content from small and independent sites, which is going to benefit my customers because they have small and independent sites. And one thing I noticed, Ray, is with our joint customer, Big Man Law, attorney Joey Franks,
Mhm.
Jackson, Mississippi, he had a page, not his homepage, but a page on his Big Man Law website that was ranking on page 2, either in the first or second position, depending on when you searched on DUI defense lawyers, Jackson, Mississippi. And no matter what I did, I could not get it on page 1. And I was driving some traffic to it, but I just couldn't get it on page 1. So last weekend, last Saturday, which is kind of when I do projects like this, I was looking at it and I thought, well, it's a bit thin on content. So I took about 18 FAQ videos I'd done with Joey, and I got the embed code from YouTube. I embedded them on that web page, and then I went back and added the titles of the videos as headlines, H2 headlines. And I also grabbed the transcription copy that I had in the description for the video. So I sent it off to Temi, and then I edited it, and then I copy and pasted it into the description. I grabbed that and put that in there as well. So 18 times there would be a video, a headline, and copy. One paragraph, regular paragraph worth of copy. So you end up with 18 videos, 18 headlines, 18 decent sized paragraphs. And shortly thereafter, I don't remember how much time thereafter, but it wasn't a lot of time. I went and checked it, and he was on page 1,
Yay!
one page up from the bottom, and I was really excited about that. I think maybe I kind of hit the core update. Maybe, that didn't hurt. There's other things to think about too. I mean, he was on page two. He was a little thin on copy, and that made a difference. So, that was pretty exciting, and I spent quite a bit of time that afternoon. Now, the bottom line is Joey was excited. He was over the moon on that because
That's all that matters right there.
yeah, he had really been on me because he wasn't on page one for his website, and he knew I had a couple of different things on page two, that being one of them. Now, here's the other thing that happened. At least the last time I checked, the last two positions on the website are that one page that says, "Have you been arrested for a DUI?" And then at the very bottom of page one is a separate page. I think it's the home page from the Franks Law Firm. And then if you go to the Google business profile, the Franks Law Firm, which Franks Law Firm and Big Man Law, he's got business licenses for both, separate suite numbers. Google okayed it. So the Franks Law Firm in the three pack of Google business profiles is number one, and Big Man Law is number three. So he is in four positions on page one. How much did videos help that? Well, whenever I do a Google business profile post, I create a video of it. Sometimes it's FAQs with the attorney, and then I transcribe it. Sometimes I just ask ChatGPT to help me, and I just do a slideshow. But I always create a video around it with backlinks and driving directions and things like that. So I think that's a great case study on getting your stuff ranked.
Yeah. We know that that kind of stuff does work. I've always told people, hey, create a page on your site to do exactly that. Put those embedded videos. In fact, there's a bit of a battle that goes on, because obviously what you really want on page one, you want that front page on page one, and you can put videos on there. But my problem is I don't trust YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
The last thing that I want is, for the customer to open up his web page someday, and instead of the YouTube video on page one, it says, this content has been removed for violations or whatever, which we've seen happen many times with businesses.
Oh, I had it happen. I had a client email me and say, "Hey, I went and searched on my uh, never fails. I get a phone call during a podcast.
Of course.
I went and searched on my name, and this one website you had done had popped up, and all the videos were missing because his YouTube had been shut down." I'm like, oh, so I got to go back and upload those to Venmo and put them back in there. So yeah, I hear you. I guess what I'm trying to say is I hear you.
Yeah. So we know that it benefits, but it's like,
Yeah.
put it on page one and risk that,
Well,
because it's never like some crazy thing you did wrong. It's like somebody flagged it, a competitor flagged it, or the AI tools they use to find things just decides that it needs to come down. Who the heck knows? But it seems like those things happen, and they happen too often. So it's tough.
Well, I think, and we had done a show on this where you talked about a video player that was separate from YouTube.
Right.
And what you recommended is that you use the video player to put your video on page one. Yeah. And then you embed your YouTube video on subsequent pages. And I think that's
that's typically what I've done and told people. And the thing is am I right? Tough to say. I just know we know that embedding those videos is going to help. We know that it's going to help the videos too, by the way. That's a benefit to the video ranking when people are searching in YouTube, but just it's too much of a risk to have it on page one. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I think there might have been some other things that play with Joey. He's got 7,000 subscribers, and one of his videos has like 450,000 views.
Nice.
So he's got a lot of interaction on that. So that didn't hurt either. Then the question becomes the videos that are getting a lot of views are the FAQ videos dragging it down, but then the FAQ videos help them get ranked. So it's always a balancing act. And then
It's always a
will
balancing act.
YouTube shut them down? Yeah,
You never know. You
you
never
never
know.
know. You never know.
You'll never know.
You'll never know.
It's kind of
Here's
sad, but
one, and you never like these stories from radio online, but report substantial shifts in the audio day of Americans. And in 2014, AM FM radio had 51% of the share of ear, I think they call it.
ear
Uh,
share.
Owned music, which I assume is like iTunes or Apple Music, was 18%, streaming music 11%. Sirius XM was 7%, and then music channels made up the rest, up to 100%. In 2024, which is no surprise, AM FM radio went from 51% to 36%. It's still number one. Owned music, and I don't know, does it say what owned music is here? I'm guessing it's um, iTunes, but owned music went from 18% to 16%. Streaming music went from 11% to 20%. What's the difference between own music and streaming music? That's what I want to know.
So you said own as in OWNED, owned.
Yeah, yeah. Would
Yeah.
that
So
be
that
a
would be
CD
like,
or something?
no, that would be like if you go to iTunes and you
Yeah.
buy the song for $2 versus streaming
Okay,
monthly
okay. Yeah, I'm a
subscription.
knucklehead. Okay. So owned music went from 18% to 6%.
To
Streaming
six?
music to 6%. Yeah, when you actually
Yeah.
buy.
No, I'm not surprised, but
Streaming music went from 11% to 20%. See, this is why Ray gets paid the big bucks and I don't. Sirius XM stayed about the same, 7% to 8%, but guess what broke in there at 14%? Um, YouTube.
oh, YouTube for me. Yeah, yeah, because YouTube is huge for music, so that makes sense.
Share of the year, you know?
Yep.
And then breaking in at 10% is podcasts. Um,
Surprised it's that low.
yeah, audiobooks at 3%.
Figured Joe
I'm
Rogan
seeing,
by himself would be more than 10%.
what's that? Who?
Said I figured Joe Rogan by himself would be more than
Yeah,
10.
yeah, that could. Oh, yeah, yeah. Um, but I think this is all interesting, and the takeaway is radio's down, which is no surprise. Streaming is up, and YouTube breaks in at 14%, and podcast breaks in at 10%. This is Edison Research, and
And,
it's their survey, you know. So
yeah. And
you know,
given normal activity, I think radio is pretty much done for. Now I say normal activity because if something happened tomorrow, broadcasting over the airwaves is probably going to be functional and the internet would not be. So
right.
uh, that could bring a comeback. But given that we don't have an apocalypse next week or anything, I think radio is done for.
Well, I think, and I don't know enough anymore to be dangerous. But I was in radio for 25 years. I was on air for 25 years, but it's been 25 years since I've been on air. So take what I say with a grain of salt. I think it's always going to be around.
Sure, to an extent,
Um,
but I just can't imagine that how these radio stations are going to keep paying, salaries of people to work. I mean,
They're
It was
not.
already terrible anyway.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, everything is either except for the morning show, and I'm exaggerating a little bit to prove my point, but only a little bit. Except for the morning show, everything else is either voice tracked or syndicated.
Yeah,
And it,
I had a friend who was a DJ at a station up in Rhode Island, and basically he worked, 2 hours. He would go in
yeah,
and he would
yeah,
record all the audio parts, and then a computer would just put
right,
in the music and put his voice on either side of it. And that's what he did. He just had a list of what to say, and that was it. And instead of having an 8 hour shift, he was there for 2 hours doing, 3 days worth of stuff.
right,
So
right. Um, yeah, and a lot of these guys, you see them, they're DJs and real estate agents, so, I mean, they're making money elsewhere.
Dr.
Um,
Johnny Fever is no
Dr.
longer.
Johnny. Now, the morning shows are still going on the top rated stations in town, but, maybe the top 4 or 5, but then after that, the morning shows are syndicated.
Yeah.
And
People still tune in for news and
yeah,
some
yeah.
morning drive stuff, but I don't
Well,
know.
and what I've noticed is now a lot of the small town stations have gone the way of a regional operator who buys them all up and nothing's original. But I have seen, like, for instance, in a little town I grew up in, which is now 10,000 people, it was 14 when I was a kid. But the local radio station there, they have a live morning team. The rest of it is syndicated programming. They used to
Makes
carry
sense.
Rush. They used to carry Rush Limbaugh, for
Right.
instance, and whoever took his
And
place.
and by the way, I don't know if people realize how big of a hammer that actually is or was when he was around because up in Rhode Island there was two main, yeah, there was a bunch, but there was two main AM talk radio stations. And for 100 years, one of them was by far the most dominant one. And when that radio station, the smaller of the radio stations, was bought by the same company that Rush's show was syndicated through, they moved him to that other station, and all of a sudden, that
they
station
they
became
started
by
showing up.
far the
Although
dominant station.
I will tell you that in major markets, and of course Russia's not with us anymore, but in the latter years, his ratings had really fallen off. I'm thinking WLS in Chicago. He had massive ratings and not so much at the end. KFAB in Omaha, he still had massive ratings. So the medium-sized markets, he was doing pretty well. But
Surprised you had anybody in Chicago.
what I'm saying, my point is with WKEI, they're live and local in the morning, and then syndicated. Dave Ramsey the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But they also have a Facebook page, and they have a gal that whenever there's news, she just takes her phone out there and does live reports, and they're at all the events, and they're very visible in the marketplace while keeping their expenses low, and they do quite well. And I'll also say that Kiwani, the town I'm from, has had a resurgence in downtown. There are a ton of boutique shops downtown, so they're doing creative ways to get them to advertise, much in the same way that you're doing. Loganville news and events. They're doing
Oh,
a
yeah, yeah,
lot
yeah.
of that, but they're
Yep.
they're doing a lot of hard news on the Facebook, and then they bring people in, they bring all the merchants in for interviews and stuff like that. So they've gotten really creative there now, and that does well for people that will listen for news and stuff. Probably trends a little older. There is a station in Omaha called Boomer Radio. So there you go. But they have their like flagship station, you want to call it, is 1490 AM, 1,000 watts, pretty much covers town. But then they got a number of different FM translator sites, little 250-watt translator sites, and they show up pretty well in the ratings. And they got the old morning Heritage morning guy what was WLW and Coil, the two top 40 stations, and then but they're live all the time until about 10 o'clock at night. And they do the weirdest things. Like in the afternoon, they have a all request in the afternoons. And then they bring in community leaders and they call it sit-ins and they interview them. Now, for me, that's like, just play the music and play the hits and don't play some stupid song that Gomer calls in, and don't be talking to all these people. But it does great in the ratings. It does great in the ratings. So, what do I know?
People like personalized stuff. That's why the internet does as well as it does. People doing very specific things. So
Yeah. But again, the takeaway from the Edison thing is, I shut my phone off. I got to read a story that's on my phone. The takeaway from the Edison story is that share of ear compared to 10 years ago, what's broken in and what's broken in probably in a pretty big way is YouTube and podcasts.
oh yeah,
between the two of them, it's like 25-30%. So
podcasts have become such an incredibly huge business. It's insane how big it's become.
Yeah, it really has. And they also, Edison, also, they also do a lot of surveys on podcast listening, and I can't remember the details of it, but they do it. Now, the other thing is, I got an email to Video Marketing Madness from YouTube. You're invited to pilot a new YouTube feature. I'm just going to read it. Hi, Video Marketing Madness. We've invited you to pilot a new YouTube feature that allows you to add helpful notes to videos. These notes will provide additional information and create a better informed YouTube community. How it works: when you find, so that this is written now from the standpoint of a viewer, when you find a video that might be confusing or inaccurate, you can submit a note clarifying it. Your contributions will be reviewed by others with a variety of views to ensure their quality and helpfulness before being added to the information panel below the video. And I don't know if that is probably on the whole video. I'm guessing it just doesn't pop up in that place, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't say. Together, we can make YouTube even more helpful for everyone.
You're right.
Please note that this experience is only available on mobile. You may be placed on the wait list. We'll let you know when you're off the wait list. I didn't add it. I probably should. I should apply for it and see how it works. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think that's an absolute disaster. It's part of that whole, you were seeing it on it's part of all the censorship stuff. That's what it is. They're looking for people to say, oh, this is wrong. Oh, this is, nobody's allowed to have an opinion anymore. It's going to be fact checked by people who have certain, it's ridiculous. And if you don't toe the line that they want you on, it's going to go away. There was a video the other day. There was a guy, I won't mention any names, major news guy who has YouTube videos and everything. He did an interview with the guy that from England who is he's part of an organization, where they're having all those riots over there right now. He's part of one of the organizations, and he was talking about what they're doing to stop the violence, right? But because he's one of the groups that's protesting, and of course he's protesting on a certain political viewpoint that YouTube doesn't like very much. This major news source, they shadow banned his video, they turned off monetization, they delisted it.
Jeez.
And the guy was on there talking about how they want to stop the violence and people need to be peaceful. But because YouTube didn't like the political viewpoint of the guy who was on, and it was just an interview with him. It was a news person doing an interview with somebody who's making news right now. and they say, "Oh no, this is misinformation, and it potentially could create violence and misinformation, disinformation," and so they shut it down.
Wow. They
So
terminated his channel or
no, they just took that video down,
uh,
wouldn't let that video stay on.
wow.
But this is the same type of stuff we saw before. Twitter was the big. I mean, Twitter literally banned a sitting
Yeah.
president's account.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just, I don't know. It's They own their platforms. They can do whatever they want, but it's just, I don't know. I just let people. Who cares if people want to see stupid things? Then call them out for being stupid. Don't try to ban them from speaking. And that's what that's going to end up being. That's exactly what that's going to end
Yeah.
up being.
No,
I don't think by next Tuesday, every video about Kamala Harris is going to be like, "Oh, she's full of crap," blah 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 blah, and every video about Donald Trump, he's full of crap, blah blah. That's what it's going to turn into, is people just attacking other things with fact check, facts about it. It's
right.
nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
I saw a video and it was Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It was a school board meeting. And there was this guy who was transitioning, and his head was shaved, but then he had long purple hair on the right side all the way down to his shoulders. He still had a voice like mine, and he was saying, "I want to be known as he, she, no, she, her, whatever it is, and I want to be able to go in the women's bathroom, you know." And oh yeah, okay, okay, the school board. Next guy comes up and said, "Look, I got to tell you, I don't want whatever. I mean, I don't have anything against, I'll say her, but I don't want her going into the women's bathroom. I mean, there are boys and there are girls. That's it. That's right and
Steve,
wrong.
you're
And
trying to get us kicked off of YouTube right now. What are you
yeah,
doing?
right, right. And I don't, well, I'm just saying this is what another guy said. And I don't want my kids exposed to that. And if you're going to do it, just do restrooms for the folks that have transitioned. And if you're going to let them play sports, have sports for the folks who have transitioned. Guys, biological men should not be able to compete against women. They still got the male hips and strength and stuff like that. And he said, also, God is not in our community anymore. And people are just booing the guy down. And he even then he said something like, "What is with you people? Are you retarded?" And they said, "Oh, you can't say
Steve
that
really
word.
is trying to get us kicked off.
Yeah, you can't say that word. You can't say that word. You can't." He says, "I just did. It's a word. Come on. And they finally kind of said, "Okay, thank you, sir." And he said, "Okay." I mean, he didn't. But stuff that was 20 years ago, just common sense, is it's all kind of goofy. I'm just glad I'm an old man. I won't be around that much longer. If I get 20 years, I don't know if I'll be happy or not. But there you go.
Yeah, but that's honestly, I think that's what that is more than anything. Because they've already got, people may not realize that they've already got feature like this already. And granted, it's not a feature for me to come and comment on your video with the real facts, but for instance, educational content, you have the ability to cite things in your videos. Maybe people don't really know that it's there, but below your tags and all that, if you go down, there's an area where you can put in, information about certain things so that people can get educational notes on stuff. But yeah, this just, I don't know, it just seems like something that will be absolutely wrought with abuse and then turned off.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
appreciate I appreciate your take on it. I had a court vid that I uploaded for Big Man, and his court vids typically do 2,500 views. And in it, I said, "Mom opens up a can of it on delinquent son in Judge so and so's courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably clickbaity because, I mean, she was agreeing with the judge, and there was a couple times she told him, "Stand here, do this." I mean, and what happened was he had a weapons charge, and he was outside a 7-Eleven asking people to buy him beer and stuff like that, and he got arrested. And so mom's there with him. She's not happy, and the judge was very happy she was there. And, she said, the judge said, we're going to do this together. Well, it was doing pretty well until somebody in the comments said, I didn't see where she opened a can of it. Was that clickbait? And all of a sudden, boom, it shut off. I didn't get any more views or many more views. Was it because of that comment? I really don't know, and I might be reading too much into it. You know what I'm saying? But but anyhow, yeah.
Well, it's, I don't know, these things, it's way too much censorship of things going on right now in most places. So,
well,
just my opinion.
And I don't mean to dismiss it, and that's not what I'm doing, but when you have social media controlled by private companies, but I don't know if I want to control by the government either. But
no. But at the same time, I just want to see them. It's like, just leave people alone. If somebody wants to come out and say something horrid, let the market crush them.
Yeah, right.
If
now
he says something, if somebody says something racist or somebody says something bad, if it's not illegal, just let people tear the person down for being what they are.
If it's not illegal. Well, and the other thing, I mean, look at all the media outlets, look at social media. Back in my day, because I was in college in the 70s, and I was in the journalism school, and I got a degree in what was called mass communications. Now it's just called communications. But back then there was the 4 TV networks, because I think PBS was around. And then radio stations and newspapers were the dominant media. I mean, everybody took the newspaper. And we were taught they impressed this on us over and over, is do your best, absolute best, to keep your opinion, how you think about things, where you stand politically, out of your reporting. Now, we recently had kind of a journalism department reunion, and I'm talking to all these guys who I considered liberal back then. They weren't, compared to what's considered liberal today. I mean, they were actually centrist. They were just left of center centrist, and we thought they were communist, of course, at the time. But I mean, that's another thing, is what was considered left and right is not considered left and right anymore either. I mean, it was a centrist thing. You were left of center or right of center. Not anymore. So there's that. So
yes, sir. And we'll be back with political talk in 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Who's leading the polls? Is Harris still leading in the polls?
I don't know. Real Clear Politics has it mixed back and forth, so it just depends which poll they're taking and whatnot.
But in the media that I watch, which is mostly YouTube, I see her a lot, but running ads and stuff. So, anyhow, I don't know.
I see them both running ads, believe me.
Have you? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'm
not gonna let either way. I'm not gonna let it affect me.
Yeah, me either. So what's new in Rayland?
Not a whole lot. Just same old stuff. Just kicking back and doing all the things I got to do.
You look kind of tired.
I was up late. Well, yeah, I'm saddened to hear you say that because it is true. I was up last night really late working on a project, and then when I got back, and by the way, I'm not somebody who doesn't sleep. Like, you put me in a room and say, all right, it's time to sleep, I guarantee I'll be asleep. I have no problem sleeping at all. I don't sleep 10 hours. I don't sleep 8 hours. I don't sleep 7 hours, but
You
you know,
get five a night was at one
yeah,
time what
I
you
usually
said.
get 5 to 6
Yeah,
good hours every single night, no problem.
yeah.
But last night I was up really late and had to get up really early. And then when I was lying in bed, I was just awake and just doing a lot of thinking and processing last night. So I'm like, oh
Oh,
man, I got to get up in a half hour now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I haven't
yeah.
really gotten much sleep
I
at
hate when
all.
I do that. I hate when
So
I do that. Yeah.
now, granted, when I was working on the project, I came home late. I hadn't eaten. I grabbed some food and I sat in my chair and fell asleep in my chair for about 2 hours, and then went to bed and then couldn't go to sleep again. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that. I love when I do that
which
too.
was fine. It was fine. I feel good, But
Yeah. Well, I knew that you would. So
that's right.
anyhow,
So
well,
good.
hey, who helped make this fine episode possible?
Well, of course, it's our good friends over at Movo, the creators of many great things like microphones, light stands, and more for your smartphones and your cameras and your camcorders and everything else. In fact, they've got some great kits. If you've got a smartphone like an iPhone or an Android and you want to turn it into a shooting kit, they've got vlogging kits that give you everything you need in one package. It'll come with, well, depending upon the vlogging kit, it'll come with a stand of some kind. It'll come with a microphone, whether it's wireless or on camera. It'll come with a light. It'll come with all sorts of things. You got to check them out. I have the iVlog 7, which the 7 came with a double-handled um, uh, attachment for you stick onto your tripod, but you can take it off and you can videotape double-handed, which is really cool. And it came with a little light that goes on top of the handle, and it came with a wireless microphone. So it's a very and a little mini tripod. That was the one I had, the iVlog 7. But there's a lot of them out there. You got to check them out. And the wireless microphones, man, oh man, I got the little battery powered one, Steve, that where the case is also a battery. So when you
Oh
put
yeah,
it
yeah,
in,
yeah, 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 yeah.
charges kind of like like the headphones do in a lot of the things. And I thought, man, this is so cool because these things are so small. Well, now they got one. It's even smaller. Now this one does not come with like a wired lapel mic. You put the actual, it looks like a large size lapel mic, and you put that on, and that's got the transmitter right on it, and that goes to a receiver that plugs into your phone. Tiny, tiny thing. I said, I believe it's like $39 right now. Unbelievable.
Wow.
And I bought a fake knockoff of that from Japan back about from China back about a year ago,
Japan.
and it sounded pretty terrible in a lot of cases. Better than having a mic on your phone or whatever. So a little bit better than that, but it wasn't very good. But man, that thing, I tested it and walked all the way across the parking lot, and it still got the exact same recording and signal. So this is a higher quality microphone by Movo that's small like that you could use anywhere. I mean, you literally get two little microphones and a little receiver that plugs in your phone, and that's all you need. And that's fits inside a little bag. I mean, it's incredible. And with the Movo quality versus the little Chinese knockoff thing, it should be really good. Should be really good.
Cool.
Haven't tested it yet, but it should be really good. So check
Well,
it
there
out.
you go.
RaiseSuggests.com/Movo. With that, Steve, let's hit the music.
Okay. So